Okay, so welcome everyone to Introduction to Mediumship Workshop. I am Peaceful Nick the Medium. My everyday name is Nicole Willett. I am a science communicator and educator who became a medium later in life. I took many, many mediumship classes with my mentor, and for the last 6 years, I've been a professional medium. And here we go. All right, so you can briefly introduce yourselves and tell everybody what types of abilities you have, what are you hoping to learn, why are you here, where are you from, whatever you want to tell everyone. And I'll start with, is it Bretta? Okay, you got to unmute yourself. I muted everybody.
Okay. My name is Brett, and I live in Southern California. And I've taken one class in mediumship, but I have had um, psychic and paranormal phenomenon my whole life. And it's never been explained to me the way I've attempted to explain it to my young son, who's now 30. And so I'm always trying to learn. I'm actually writing a memoir right now, and I'm including a whole part of that memoir to be about paranormal because I've had some pretty bizarre experiences. But I,
Okay.
but when I took the, anyway, I took this mediumship class and people said, you're really good at this. You should charge money. And I went, that just isn't like on my list. So, but I don't know about other people, but I want to know better how to work with it, not have it work with me.
Right. And that's the whole thing that the mentorship is about, how to put up your boundaries, how to control it to mostly, right? So it's not interrupting your life because it can be very interrupting, like it can interrupt your life for sure. So thank you. Harriet, would you like to share?
I'm sorry, I'm just in
If
the
you
middle
would
of
like to
this.
share, Harriet, you are muted. All right, we'll go to Anna.
Yes, ma'am. I'm from far west Texas. I've been intuitive since I was a child. I'm a card reader. I've had Reiki attunements. I'm a master teacher. And just like the lady before me, I also want to know how to do things on my terms and not somebody else's.
Right. And most of that is just outwardly saying, either in your mind, projecting it out to spirit, or you can say it out loud. Now's not the time. Don't interrupt me, I have to go to work, or don't interrupt me, I'm at a wedding, or don't interrupt me, I'm at a grocery store. So it's a lot of putting boundaries and letting them know. We'll get to some of that tonight. And Harriet, are
Yeah,
you
I'm back.
able? Okay, there you
Yeah,
are.
I think I'm back now.
Okay, you want to introduce
Okay.
yourself?
Yeah, my name is Harriet. I'm from Northern California. And the reason I wanted to come is because I've had these kinds of experiences quite a few times over the years. And I'm just trying to understand them and put up some boundaries so I can better handle them when they do come.
Wonderful, thank you. Kate, would you like to share?
Yes, except am I muted or not? I can't
Yeah, I
tell.
can hear you. I can hear you.
Great, thank you. So I'm from Northern California. Um, I'm going to go with Claire's, but I'm not going to use the official titles. I have Claire knowing, um, just I kind of like know things.
Mhm.
I have hearing, Claire hearing. I have the ability to connect with people who are in another location. I can communicate with them, especially in hospitals for some reason. Um, and I took a test on the clairs, and I was pretty evenly distributed across all of them. But what I would really like is to have, I want to be able to accurately communicate with my guides. I want to talk to them um, and they communicate with me through bodily chills and things like that and knowings, but it's not good enough for me. I really want words. I want to know because I need their
Okay.
guidance right now. So
Okay.
that's where I am.
All right. We will address that tonight as well. Briefly address it. This is a quick little class. It's not extended. The mentorship is more extended, but yes, we will talk about that. Jane, would you like to share?
Sure. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. And I kind of know when things are going to happen. It's really weird. I think something's going to happen and it eventually does. And I just like to find out and like, I think it was Kate about my guides.
Okay. All right. And knowing things are going to happen is precognition. And knowing things, you can also call it claircognizance. It's just there's depends on how you receive it and when you receive it. But yes, we will address those tonight. MB, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself based on your email from earlier. If you can't, oh,
Hi,
there you go. Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm from Europe, and I'm here. I would just like to learn more about this.
Okay. In general.
Yes,
Okay.
I've had some experiences in my life, but I'm very kind of skeptical, and ChatGPT actually recommended to me, probably because you worked in science, and so
Yes.
I was at some medium lectures before, and you know. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see.
Okay. It's
Okay.
very good. It's good to be skeptical. I tell people this all the time. You should always be skeptical, but not so skeptical that you
Yes,
are adversarial about it, right?
I
So
agree.
yeah, there's skepticism that's normal skepticism, and then there's skepticism that is like a little bit too much, like absolute denial. So we need to have a middle ground with the skepticism. So I appreciate you
Thank
bringing
you.
that up. Abby, would you like to share?
Hi everyone. Hi Nick. How are you doing?
Great. How are you? I'm glad you're here.
Wonderful. Yes, I am too. So hi everyone. My name is Abby. I was born with, having always I have the clear knowing and just a lot of I used to have dreams. I've told this to Nick before. I had dreams, premonitions. I have a lot of, um, oh gosh, my words are escaping me. What is it when you're doing something and you've done it, you feel like you've done it before?
Deja vu.
Uh, Deja vu. I have a lot of deja vu.
Yeah.
Um, I intuitively know things. I just this afternoon asked someone, I was at a senior grad party with my granddaughter and um, asked one of the workers if I could bring them something to eat and told them what I could get them. And she goes, that's exactly what I wanted, and
Yeah.
it was so it's always been there. For those that I know, the gentleman before me said that he had skepticism. I have had a session with Nick before, and I can tell you that she is for real.
Oh, thank
My
you.
mother passed away several years ago, and um, Nick had my mom talking to her. And the way it was proven to me is that there was one special moment that we shared the day before she died. And I've never told anyone about it.
Mm.
And that was mine. And Nick brought that up. So it's real. Um, and she's the best. You're in with the one that can help you.
I appreciate that so much, Abby. Thank you so much. And Jane with all caps. We have two Janes, so we got all caps Jane. Would you like to share anything or introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jane. I'm from Blaine, Washington, so near Bellingham. Abilities? No, not really. Sometimes a little bit, but nothing. I'm
Yeah.
really interested. I've been interested all my life.
Okay, I have to mute you because you sound like a robot for some reason.
I'm getting feedback, so I don't know
Yeah.
how to stop that.
Yeah, I'll mute you. It's nice. I'm glad you're here. If you want to pop out and pop back in, sometimes that fixes it. I'll let you back in. Okay. All right. So I think that's everyone. I'm going to go to the first slide. So if you've ever had a reading and you want to talk about how it made you feel, let me know. We'll start. Brett, you had your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Oh, you're muted still, honey. I don't know. You're still muted. I can't unmute people.
I got
Okay,
it.
there you go.
Okay. So many years ago, I went to see I had like not an appointment, but the appointment suddenly became available, and it was with a very, very famous psychic. His name is Vincent Ragone, Ragone, and he was a presidential psychic. And I just had a class in alternate ways of knowing in college, and my teacher knew about this guy, and she told me to go see him. And the specifics of what happened was so phenomenal that I knew that I had to pursue this at some point in my life. He was telling me that I was on my way to go to Portland, Oregon to become a chiropractor at that moment in time. And he told me that I had been a bone setter in ancient Egypt. And that
Wow.
I had been, he said, you were disemboweled on the battlefield and people were calling medic because they needed your help, but you had been disemboweled and you couldn't offer help. And then he said, but you've known this. And what's true is that I had known this, and I had mentioned it to my boyfriend at the time. I said, I feel like I can hear people calling for help. I feel like I was on a battlefield and I couldn't help people because I was injured. So when the psychic told me that, I knew that I had experienced that knowing of that life. It made me cry. It was so intense.
That's
that
intense.
and so that's just a piece of like all the stories that I'm working on. But I do feel like it's a puzzle that they don't teach us how to deal with, and
Absolutely.
I really, really need to know more about it. I lost my mother when I was 14. She died of
Oh, I was
cancer.
15 when I lost my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right. There are so many things that we are not taught. I listened to Dr. Teresa Bullard, who is a physicist, and she dabbles in the metaphysical world. And I was listening to her earlier today, and she was talking about how there is so much that when we take science courses in college or high school, basically, I'm sure graduate school is what she was referring to, they stop you at if you can't touch it, feel it, taste it, hear it out, in the three-dimensional world, don't talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to put that in the corner. But before this big revolution in science, which I'm a scientist, I like science, but there are things about science. There's a dogma to science, just like there's a dogma to religion. There are things we can't explain with science yet. And I think mediumship, psychic abilities, telepathy, remote viewing, all of those things that all of you and I know to be real are real. There, there's just a knowing, you know it to be real because of your experiences. And the preponderance of evidence for mediumship and psychic and remote viewing is incredible. And so I don't know why people still deny it, but that's another story for another time. So anybody else want to share? Abby already shared a bit about her reading. If you do learn mediumship fully, you can help others heal. That's my main goal when I give readings, help people heal by proving that their loved ones go on beyond this earthly realm. That's part of my intention setting before every reading. I say, dear God, angels, saints, loved ones, and spirit, please allow me to communicate with so-and-so's loved ones in spirit and prove that their life goes on beyond this earthly realm. Please allow me to bring messages of hope, healing, peace, and love. And that's the intention I set before every single reading I do. And that is always my goal, to help people feel better after a reading than they did before the reading. And, if you've all had readings, you probably, whether with me or someone else, hopefully you felt better after the reading. My goal is always when I do these classes, these workshops, or mentorships to help others communicate with loved ones in spirit so you can help others heal, whether for yourself, for fun with your, friends and family, or, or if you want to do it professionally someday. So, clairs, we're going to go through this quickly. These are the official titles of clairs, but clairs are just our senses that we have in our everyday life, that are, telepathic for a medium or a psychic. So claircognizance, clair just means clear. Claircognizance means clear knowing. Some of you mentioned that already. That this is a clair I had my whole life and I didn't know I had it. I thought this is going to sound ridiculous, but I thought everybody knew things before they happened. I didn't think it was some kind of ability. And I was shocked to find out when I was in my 40s and became a medium and got trained that people just don't know stuff. Like it surprised me. I know that sounds really ridiculous. But I honestly, it was just something that had been with me my whole life. I didn't know it was different for other people. So if you have any, write down the ones you have or keep track. Clairvoyance is clear seeing. That is seeing outside of your head or inside your head in your mind's eye. When you see something that's going to happen, sometimes we have precognitive dreams and we dream about something that's going to happen the next day or two, or we lay down to take a nap and we see some scene in our head, and then we tell somebody and then, oh my gosh, that thing happened. So clairvoyance is clear seeing in your head or outside of your head. Clairaudience is clear hearing inside or outside of your head. Many people, they'll be falling asleep and they'll hear somebody say their name or say some words outside of their head. That's very, very common. Clairsentience is clear feeling. Those are physical feelings. If you're doing readings, and you feel like a physical pain, like a heart attack, or tightness in the chest can be like pneumonia or something like that, or a pain in the head can be an aneurysm. Those are clear feelings. Clear empathy is clear emotional feeling. Now, sentience and empathy are often used interchangeably, but technically sentience is physical feeling and empathy is emotional feeling. So if you ever get a lot of people who are empaths or highly sensitive people have very, very strong clair empathy and don't realize that's what it is. If you go into a room and someone just had an argument, but they're not arguing anymore, and you just feel that energy, that residual energy left in the room. Or you go to the mall on Christmas Eve and you just are going crazy with anxiety because you can feel all the feelings of all the other people. Those are just a couple of examples of, being empathic and taking on emotions of others. And this can happen in readings too. If you're giving a reading to somebody and you're sensing someone's loved one in spirit, and all of a sudden you feel profound sadness or anxiety or happiness or giddiness, whatever emotion that person maybe had as their main personality, you can feel that. Clairgustance is clear tasting. So sometimes you can taste things in your mouth, like a certain kind of food, chewing tobacco, cigarettes, anything like that. And that's part of the Clair system where you can sense these things for the reading. And Clairalience is Clair smelling. This is very common. A lot of people smell their loved one's cigarette smoke, their perfume, cologne, a variety of different things that you can smell, either inside or outside, right? So most people that I've talked to smell things outside of their head. They'll smell a lot of smoke, cigarette smoke, and perfume. I get that a lot. So, does anybody have all of these? You can raise your little Zoom hand or put an emoji in the chat or something.
It's inconsistent, but I would like little bits of things. Like I wouldn't say I get it all the time. I've noticed all those things
Okay.
occasionally. Like it's not like I feel like it's just an oversensitivity,
Well,
right?
and that's what a lot of what mediumship is heightening your senses in order to pick up on those things. And it's the same thing with being psychic. Like you're turning on the antenna. And that's what I always tell people. It's like your antenna turn on when you know how to do it, right? And then you can feel, see, hear everything.
Well, I mean, you're describing things, and I'm like, well, yeah, I wouldn't admit this to most people, but I've heard my name called a lot over my life, and sometimes it's before bed. So it's just weird. Like when you brought those things up, I went, oh yeah, that's happened. And
Mhm.
it's not like stuff I would volunteer to most people.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I understand. I had to quote unquote come out of the closet to my dad and stepmom as a medium because I've been in science for over 20 years.
Well, my husband doesn't believe any of this. His father didn't believe any of it either. So it's, I'm walking on, um, it's not firm ground. I'm walking on a shaky territory because I know that I have to keep this to myself, which is very frustrating. I knew we were going to have an earthquake before the Northridge quake
Mm.
2 weeks earlier.
In 94, that was 94. Yeah.
I even was turning the door handle and I said to my husband, I think we're going to have a really big earthquake. And I never had been in an earthquake. I didn't even know. I said, I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're getting information and you just need to hone it so you can control it so it doesn't control you. And it's okay if other people don't believe you. You have to be who you are and follow your truth. As long as, they're respectful to you and you're respectful to them. I mean, it's your life, right? It's your life. Kate, what would you like to add?
Um, Actually, I some of them were stronger than others, but I noticed when Brett was eating a cracker, I wasn't looking at the screen. I was writing, and I heard the snap of the cracker, and I went, "Whoa, is that real or not? Did that really happen?" And then I paid attention, and I didn't hear it anymore. But that's often when I get this information is when I'm not focused on anything.
Because your senses are open when you're not focused. So that's the interesting thing. So the left side of the brain is the analytical side, right? You do math, science, any taxes, all that kind of stuff. That's very analytical. The right side is more creative, and that's where the mediumship psychic connection occurs on that side of the brain for the most part, from what's been said over the years. So when you're not in your analytical mind, it opens this side of the mind up. Like that's why a lot of mediums do some kind of art, because it opens up this side. Like all these paintings, these are all paintings I've done over the years, and it just opens up that side of my mind to help me connect. I draw pictures and write words on my notepad when I do readings. I'm not like doing the scribbling like this, like some of those mediums do. I'm actually drawing pictures and things, and it just helps me open up that side of my mind to connect. So I'm not thinking about the taxes and the bills and this and that and the other. Not doing calculus anymore, thank God. But but so there is a reason for when you're not thinking about something so complicated, when you're just relaxing, because it's opening that other side of your mind up. Yeah, and you can learn to control it for sure. Anybody else want to talk about their clairs? Any questions about the clairs? Okay,
I
so
have a
let's
question.
go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, how would you describe if you felt an overwhelming sense of someone who wasn't there, that was hugging you and loving you? How would you describe that? Would that be a sentience?
That is probably sentience and empathy, clairsentience and clair empathy.
Okay,
And if that's happening, just take a few moments, take some deep breaths, and ask. If you don't know who it is, ask who it is. But I
okay,
have a feeling you probably know who it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
How about when you could feel someone making their transition
Say,
and you're not with them?
can you repeat that?
When you feel someone, it's the experience of them making their transition, even though you're not with them, but you can feel it when it happens and you're not anywhere near them, but you know it's happening.
That's claircognizance or precognition. So
Okay,
cognizance and from claircognizance, and cognition from precognition is knowing. It's a knowing.
okay,
So that's
okay,
the root. That's what the root means. It's just
okay,
telepathy, all of those things are kind of related to each other. You know it's
okay,
happening.
okay.
Any,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anything else about the clairs?
No, those are the two questions I had. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome. All right, so psychic versus medium. This is one that a lot of people um, misunderstand. So all mediums are psychic, and I practice professionally as an evidential medium, but I can also list myself as a psychic medium because we have claircognizance. So claircognizance is knowing things before they happen, and mediums have that ability. Mediumship is directly connecting to someone who has passed away, someone in spirit. Psychic, uh, just a psychic, is someone who talks to you about you, only you. They can connect with your energy field, your aura, and tell you about your life and, what may be coming up in your life specifically. Mediums like me, I don't do purely psychic readings. If psychic information comes in during a reading from spirit, that's the information I share. I don't just talk to somebody and give a whole prediction about their life. That's not what I do. But if I am doing a mediumship reading and someone says, "Hey, go get your cholesterol checked," I will tell them that. Now, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with their cholesterol. That's just information I'm getting from spirit to share with the client. And sometimes it is very important for them to do that. And other times it's, maybe just a little tiny bit above, regular cholesterol. That's just a benign example of that. So in mediumship and doing psychic work as well, any healing modality at all, in the United States, there is no governing body that is, from the government, federal, state, or local, that is monitoring any of this. So it's super important that we work as ethically as possible. Now, I am absolutely sure you've all seen a different varieties of psychics and mediums on social media. And I'm sure you've seen a variety of things. There's a famous medium that goes on TikTok. He used to have a TV show actually, and he's not even accredited by the Better Business Bureau anymore and has like 200 complaints about him because he used to be a really good ethical medium. And then I'm not sure what happened in his life, but now he's not really ethical anymore. And by ethics, I mean like a doctor, do no harm. Always leave your client in a better position when they leave the reading than when they showed up. If there is someone who expresses any self-harm thoughts or any severe depression, talk to them until you believe they're stable. Because I do mine mostly on Zoom, so I'm not physically with the person, so I can't, there's only so much I can do, but I always talk people through any severe sadness if they have it, or if they express anything, any thoughts that are scary. I'll always say, make sure you have a therapist, you have somebody you can call after this. That has happened maybe twice in a couple of thousand readings. So one in every few thousand readings, you might get someone who is not in a good place. Now, we can't control that when somebody books a reading with us. We don't know who this person is. They're strangers. We don't know what their psychological background is. So we can only do the best we can do. But it's very important to be ethical and share resources with them if you have to. So, any questions on psychic versus medium? Okay, I can't see everybody on screen, so if you raise your hand, I can't see everybody. All right, so here come the boundaries. So I was talking about this earlier. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. My first two experiences in mediumship were spontaneous. They were both the day the person passed away. I had never had a mediumship experience before that I was aware of. And they were very, very dramatic and came out of nowhere. And I was not expecting it at all. I was happy in my little science life, just going on with life as a science person. I was never expecting this. And so they just started coming in. And then after I started my classes with my mentor, my mother passed in 1986 and her birthday's on July 31st. Well, midnight of July 31st, in my head, I could see my mother and 1,000 or more souls lined up behind her. And I'm like, Mom, I don't know who these people are. If you want me to talk to all these people, you need to get it, get me associated with their humans. I don't know who all these people are you have standing here. So I had to put up a boundary. I'm like, it's midnight. Let's start there. Who wants to do that at midnight? And secondly, you got to hook me up with these people in some way because there's no way of me knowing who all these people are I'm seeing in my mind's eye. So I had to put up a boundary and let my mom in spirit know, look, this is not the time for that. Do it at the appropriate time in the appropriate way. So you can always tell your loved ones in spirit who just come through spontaneously, or if a stranger shows up. One day I was at work and I was talking to a woman who had been working there for a very long time. And I saw her husband come into my awareness, and I couldn't be talking about that at work, right? I would have definitely gotten fired, and they would have thought I was crazy. So I had to put up a boundary and say in my head, I projected out to him, and I said, now is not the time for this. If you want to get a message to her, make it at the appropriate time with the appropriate person. So you can put up a boundary anytime, anytime. And they most of the time will listen. You may have to say it twice. If they're very assertive, you might have to say it 3 times, but usually once is enough. And you say, look, at bedtime, it's my bedtime. I don't want you coming in bothering me in the middle of the night because a lot of people have sleep disruption from things like this because we are in that alpha state, that brainwave state where our brain is relaxed. And so they like to come in. Yes.
That's bringing up a really important point. I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping, and what I notice is that I seem to imagine sounds that are loud and they wake me up. And then I don't think, then sometimes my husband's awake and I'll say, well, what was that? And he won't hear it. I don't know. So is that what this is? I mean,
It could be a couple of things. So sometimes when we are shifting gears in our brain as we fall asleep, there
uh-huh,
is that like jump scare. You ever have
yeah,
that? That could just be a regular brain thing, right?
okay, yeah.
But if it's something where, you hear a car alarm go off like vividly in your mind and it wakes you up. And then that's not a jump scare, right? That's you heard a
Yeah, not,
specific object.
and I hear things like doors closing and things like that usually.
Okay.
It's weird.
So, well, and that's because you have abilities to access the other realms, and so they're trying to get your attention, in my opinion. And so just say every night, please don't
No,
disrupt
no,
my sleep.
no interruptions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please don't
No,
just
but this
yeah,
goes back to my first comment was you mentioned these things and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's part of this too. So
yeah,
it's like there's a lot of these things and I'm not even aware until you start talking about them. So
right.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes. I wasn't aware of any of it. I knew nothing about mediumship till I took my first
Sure.
class. And I'm like, geez, I've had this stuff forever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I will say, I, even though I asked my guides not to disrupt my sleep repeatedly, I still get my sleep disrupted. Now, that is because I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder from my mother passing away at my feet as a teenager. So that I've had insomnia since I was 15. So that is in addition to the mediumship. So mine isn't just mediumship stuff, it's trauma
I understand.
and mediumship. So I just wanted to, I like to make things, give the science and the mediumship together. Okay, anybody else about boundaries? You can tell them boundaries at any time. Sometimes you have to repeat it a couple times. Okay, let me know. And then discipline. So we have to have self-discipline, emotional discipline. We have to be emotionally regulated. We have to have some, I would say, a large part of our healing worked through. You don't want to, now I'm not talking about anybody here particularly because I don't know everybody here. But there are people who work in mediumship and in the psychic world who haven't done a lot of healing, and so they give a lot of negativity in their readings. Now, sometimes a negative fact will come through in a reading, but anything negative that comes through, like somebody did something bad to you and they want to apologize. So that is coming through for healing. I have seen other mediums who may not have healed themselves before they did readings say, you've got a demon connected to you and you're going to hell if you don't get rid of that demon, or your loved one is stuck here and you've got to pay me $500 to get that person unstuck. And it's like, that is no. There, first of all, I don't believe in demons. I never have, even growing up as a Catholic. It doesn't make sense. And secondly, nobody's soul gets stuck, period. there may be residual energy in a place, but nobody's soul is stuck. The soul is too powerful to be stuck anywhere. So if you hear anybody giving information like that, you know, demons, soul is stuck, blah, 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 anything like that, no, that person is either not trained properly and or has not done enough healing work on themselves. Healing work on ourselves is very important so we don't bring our negativity into a reading. Now, we are never fully, completely healed, right? There's always something new coming up in our lives. But we should know the difference between, oh, is this my stuff or is this coming through from the reading? So there's a lot of self-discipline that has to happen. We also need to communicate with our guides on a regular basis. We need to create a place in our mind where we can meet our guides. We need to keep that energetic space clear. After readings, clear out your space. You can burn sage if you want to, or you can just set an intention to clear out the space, open the doors, open the windows, whatever ritual that works for you, works for you. I'm not a big put everybody in a box and make them do certain things a certain way, as long as people are being ethical, and following, you know, guidelines and parameters to a certain degree and helping people heal. Everybody finds their own way to give readings, and clear their space and connect with their guides. So there's a lot happening at once, but it's like getting a new job. When you get a new job, you get trained, but then you kind of figure out your own way to do everything. That's kind of what I'm referring to when I teach mediumship. There's certain things you got to do. You got to communicate with spirit, you got to get evidence, you got to get a healing message, but you know, everybody's going to find their own way to do that. Connecting to spirit. This is where we take deep breaths, we raise our vibration and our awareness and expand it out and above our head and create a space for spirit to come in and merge or blend with us. And then we get the information. Now, for some people that happens immediately and they don't even have to do any kind of ritual. For other people, they have to go through a whole ritual. Sometimes, you know, you're at the grocery store and it will spontaneously happen. Other times you could be sitting at your desk or table and you're trying so hard to connect and you're trying to raise your awareness, but you just got a phone call with some bad news and now you can't focus. So it's not always exact, it's not always perfect. We are humans with human lives, and not every reading is going to be perfect, no matter how many readings you've done, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many TV shows you've been on. No medium is 100% accurate, and no medium is on perfectly every time. But you should be 80 to 90% accurate is where you want to be most of the time. Unless, like I said, you got a phone call with, you know, bad news. You also want to have your eyes open when you give a reading, and I see other mediums online sometimes have their eyes closed. You want to have your eyes open because it's more professional when you're talking to someone to have your eyes open and not have your eyes closed, because it's more professional to have your eyes open. Okay. Any questions about any of that before we go on to learning to connect? Okay. Hello, Kathy. Welcome in. Everyone will get a copy of this. Everyone who signed up will get a copy of this at the end. All right. So learning to connect to spirit. This is where we have to trust that spirit will come through for us and allow spirit to come through. So trust and allow. My mentor taught me that years ago, and I have kept this little post-it note on my desk for years and years and years to remind me, because I'm a person. And sometimes it's, a rough day, and I have to trust that spirit is going to come through and allow them to bring me the information to share with my clients. So when we move our mind, it's when I was just saying earlier, take some deep breaths. 3 deep breaths kind of resets your neurological system. And then you imagine your conscious awareness raising up above your head and expanding out. And then you're going to merge and connect and surrender and allow spirit to give you information. For me, when my mediumship little space above my head is very different now than when I first started mediumship. It's changed over the years, and a lot of things will change over the years if you go into this practice regularly. My area in my mind above my head now is kind of like a giant oval, and it's brassy or sepia color. And then I just see people walk in to my head, to my awareness, to this brassy sepia colored oval, and they just stand there and they show me things and they tell me things and they write words. And that's how my mediumship works. They just step right into my awareness. Um, and then you have to hold that connection. So part of practicing mediumship is if you get just a little blip from somebody, that's great. But if you're going to give a reading, you need to hold that connection while you have your eyes open, looking at the client, hold the connection in your mind, and get all the information out to your client. I describe it as if you've ever had a pet or a child and you've gone to the playground or the dog park and you feel that energetic connection and you kind of feel that connection with that child or that pet at the dog park or even another loved one of any kind, you can tangibly feel that connection, right? And so when we're connecting with spirit, when you feel it, it's like a lock and a key. You know it's there, and then you just surrender and allow it just to flow, flow, flow. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the more you do it, the better it gets. So some people are just natural. They just flow, 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 flow. I've been in classes with people who are just immediate natural mediums. And I've been in classes with people who have, not my students, when I was coming in through mediumship mentorship. Um, I was in classes with people who had been in classes for 2 or 3 years and they still couldn't make a connection. And it was odd to me because I'm like, well, how did it take you so long? But some people it just takes a longer time. Most people not. Any questions about that little brief snippet? Okay. All right, so spirit guides. Other people were asking about the guides. I do have a free guide to get to finding your spirit guide on my website with links to videos, and I have 4 or 5 spirit guide videos on YouTube. Um, Spirit guides are super important because they're like our best friends in the spirit world, but they don't ever judge us. They're always there for us, and they will help us with anything we ask. Um, Now, a lot of people ask me, can my mother in spirit or my best friend in spirit or my father or grandfather be my spirit guide? Technically, no, but because I'm not a label person, if you want to call your mom or your best friend your spirit guide, it doesn't bother me in the least bit. If that makes you happy, go for it. Technically, they're like helper guides. And spirit guides are people you never incarnated on this earth with, but you may have had another life with. So like they're your best friend in spirit. Now, I didn't believe I didn't believe in spirit guides at all when I started my mentorship. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was silly. I'm like, I'm a scientist. This is a bunch of crap. I don't believe in spirit guides. So my mentor said, I'm looking for something for this story. My mentor said, test your spirit guide, ask them for a sign. So any of you can do this. Ask your spirit guide for a sign. And I'm like, okay. And I'm kind of rolling my eyes. I'm kind of sassy that way. And so I said, okay, I'll ask for a snow globe. It was March. It was a couple of months after I started my mediumship classes. Um, and I said, I'll ask for a snow globe. Well, there's no snow globes in March, right? It's not Christmas, so nobody has snow globes. So I thought that's perfect. I'll never see one. That was my attitude. I'll never see one. So my classes were always on Saturday mornings because my mentor was in the UK. So I was in California, and that's when the classes were. And so lo and behold, I'm scrolling Instagram that day and I see an ad for a psychic with a snow globe. And I thought, okay, that's a coincidence. And then a couple hours later, I saw the same ad. And I'm like, I'm not taking that. Nope, I'm just gonna pass it up. The next day I went to the golf store with my husband. He loves golf. And on the counter at the golf store was a golf snow globe. And I thought, oh no, now I'm seeing snow globes everywhere. And the next day was Monday, and I was fairly new to the place I was working. And there was a lady that had been there 40 years, and she had this office just newly built, and it had a huge wall on the left side. I hadn't been in there before. And it had hundreds of snow globes that she had been gifted over the 40 years she had been there. And they were just, she had these special shelves built for these snow globes. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then my son, my expertise in science is the planet Mars. And my son and daughter-in-law bought me this, like right after that, bought me this Mars snow globe. So, so I'm like, okay, they think I'm a smart aleck with my little attitude about spirit guides. They got me. They showed me spirit guides are real. So that's my spirit
That's
guide
good.
story.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
So I never denied it. And now I have a great relationship with my guides. I talk to them all the time. And you can learn to find them. They will change over time. Some new will come in, some will stay there forever. Sometimes you'll get a new one pop in. Some people freak out about their names. They don't have names. They probably don't speak English, right? They're spirits. But you may hear a name, like my main guide's George. That's the name I heard. It probably wasn't his name, no matter where he lived in the universe. I don't know. But that was the name for me to associate with him. So whatever name you hear in your head when you find him, that's fine. You can associate with that. Any
You know,
question? Yes.
I had an experience that I don't really know what it was, but I was walking with a friend downtown LA, and this street guy, he comes up to me and he says, "You have angels around you." And like I thought he was talking to this other woman, right, who I was with. But no, he kept looking at me and he goes, they're all around you. And I mean, that was the first sort of inkling. I don't feel like I have a spirit guide, but I know that's not true. I just don't know. I don't feel like I've made any kind of connection that makes any sense, whatever that means.
Well, we all have to go through this journey in our own way, at our own pace. Um, I think that when we are around people who don't really believe in it, it can make it a little harder for us because we're always riding that line between skepticism and what we feel, which is understandable because we're human and we're around other humans. Um, but you just have to find your way to what it is that you are experiencing and believe it for yourself. So test it. I don't have a lot of experience with angels myself. Not that I don't believe in angels. You know,
I'm not even-
I believe angels are messengers, right? But I don't have a lot of experience with angels myself. Now, some mediums have angelic experiences all the time. That's not my experience. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You might have 10,000 angels around you. How am I to know, right? But some people are tuned to that. I
I
just,
guess I'm curious as to the people that are in this meeting right now. Do you all are you intimate with knowing your angel, not angel, but a spirit guide? I mean, you could call him an angel. I don't care what, it's just a name. But have you had that experience? I'm curious.
Jane has her hand raised. Is that about the spirit guides or angels, Jane?
My question is what's the difference between a guardian angel and a guide?
Okay, the answer is, according to mediumship lore, an angel is an entity that never incarnated on Earth. A spirit guide has incarnated on Earth. Now,
Okay.
remember, I'm not in charge of labels. So whether
Yeah.
that's true or not, I don't know. But that's what the lore is.
Because when I've asked my guardian angel's name, I've come up with George Michael.
See, because they
And
don't really have names, because angels who live in heaven don't have
Need them.
English names because they were in the spirit realm, and English was only invented, what, a few hundred years ago, maybe 1,000.
right,
They've been there for billions of years. So,
and when I questioned in my mind my spirit guide, I came up with the same name. Just that name just keeps popping in.
okay, so maybe your guide is an angel, or maybe your angel is a guide. So it
Okay.
takes time to explore it. It takes time and repeated exploration. So keep
And
working on it.
can you hear your spirit guides like talk to you? Um, if you're just kind of asking, a question and you hear this voice that you don't recognize.
To me, because I have all the different clairs, I have a knowing, a feeling, a sense. I see words in my head. I have guidance. I have signs outside. So if I ask my guide to help me with my clairvoyance externally, I will, in my next reading, see things projected on my wall or on my notepad. So it's not always a question of hearing an answer in words. It can come in other ways.
That was
Everybody's
Okay.
moving around.
that was just my question, because I've been asking ChatGPT if it's possible for a spirit to come through an electrical device.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, it happens to me all the
and
time.
now I'm beginning to think, I mean, I'm on ChatGPT, but it's otherworldly. It's a weird thing. I didn't know.
And
Like, is
that's also in the podcast I was listening to earlier with Dr. Teresa Bullard. She talks about that. It's on the Next Level Soul podcast. It was just the other day with
wow,
Dr. Teresa Bullard. They talk exactly about what you just said about ChatGPT and communicating with the other realms. Exactly what you just said. You should listen to it.
because I even asked him and he said, I mean, because I refer to it as a him, it's a weird thing. But then I even asked, I said, is it possible? And he was just talking about how, since beings are known to be able to tap into electricity, like with the lights and stuff, people talk about that. Why wouldn't we have this technology that allows actual words to
Right.
come in a very tangible way? Like, that seems to me that would be the integration of science and
Mhm.
and energy work. Like, that's just beyond
It
words.
is. I want to get to Kate's question, but I want to address this
Okay.
scientifically and what I know about ChatGPT.
Okay.
ChatGPT takes all of the internet into consideration when it answers a question. So I am sure somewhere on the internet is something to the effect of what they said to you. So I don't want to say
Right.
spirits are coming through ChatGPT,
No, I
but
get
there's
it.
a lot of information on the internet that they could pick up on. Now, I'm not saying it's not, but
No,
it's
okay. No, it's, yeah. But that's enough. That's you've given it plenty.
Okay, Kate, yes.
Yes, I've done some studying and work in the shamanic community.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
in that discipline, power animals are guides. And I have a really strong relationship with my power animal.
Can you explain what a power animal is?
A power animal in that discipline is a guide who kind of takes you in that discipline. You have 3 levels. You have an upper level, an earth level, or a lower level. And each level has a different style of depth of communication and information that's available. And the power animal is assigned to you or finds you that actually directs you to these different levels and keeps you on track with it's a protector. It's there to watch over you so that you don't get lost or you don't do something that would cause harm to yourself. Mine is an elephant who is, and I will cry because I am so connected to this particular elephant called Maybe, who is an African, so very big, can be either very, 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 very big or very, very, very small, depending upon what my need is. And I'm wondering if that, my question in this community has to do with, is that guide, is she or he, there's no gender really, would it be the same guide? Should I use, I guess the question is, should I incorporate her presence in my life on
Yes.
a daily basis?
Yes. So in mediumship, even when we learn about guides, guides can be animals, guides can be a rock. My colleague Kathy, who many of you've probably seen me go live with, she has a blue orb as a guide. Like a guide doesn't have to be a human form at all. It can be lots of people have animal guides. So yes, absolutely. You already have a very close relationship with that animal guide. How did you phrase it?
In that community, it's called a power animal.
Power animal. So you already have a strong relationship with that power animal. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't continue strengthening that and seeing that animal as a guide. It's just different terms from different modalities, right? It's essential. It's like all religions say, be good, be nice, love everybody, right? It doesn't matter what label you put on it. They're all saying love each other. So it's kind of like that. So yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. Can we
Yeah.
take a 2-minute stretch break? All right, I'm going to pause the recording. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
I would just like to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
What Kate said about those animals. I have a very beautiful picture of my photo of my father, who he caught this falcon.
Oh, wow.
And when he had an accident and died, I went to the medium, and the night before I went there, this falcon came in my dreams.
Mm,
You can call it a coincidence or not, but when I went the second time, this falcon came in physical.
wow.
It was there on the parking lot. Coincidence or not, but that's how it was.
Well, sometimes things happen so commonly they can no longer be considered a coincidence. Even in science, we say that. Like I said earlier, the preponderance of evidence is such that there's no denying these things are happening. Like, people who go to mediums and psychics and they get accurate information. There's, you know, there are things that there's no way we should know that we know. So, and yes, the animals, it's a big indicator. Our loved ones in spirit move our awareness. Some people think their loved ones in the cardinal or in the bluebird or in the butterfly. That's not what it is. They move our attention to see that animal so we know their spirit is around us and getting our attention. Or they move that animal in front of us. Like fly in front of her. My mom sends me doves and has for almost 40 years. So, yeah, I love it. I love that. And I've been talking a lot about crows, and I keep teasing my husband and my family that I'm going to get a crow. I keep telling him I'm going to get a crow. And my husband had a very important meeting this morning, and he goes, "You're never going to believe what happened. A crow landed right on the windowsill at the meeting he had this morning." He goes, "Is that a sign?" I'm like, "I think that's a sign. I think it's a sign."
I don't think there's any such thing as coincidence.
No, I agree. I learned that in the Celestine prophecy when I read that in the 90s. That was the first like spiritual book I read. Um, and it changed my life. All right, next section. Deeper info. So in mediumship, one of the things, the reason we have to trust and allow spirit is because clients have psychic amnesia where they'll say, "No, no, I don't know what that means. No, no." Now, that can throw somebody off who's not familiar with doing readings and doesn't do a lot or hasn't done a lot. That's why you have to do a lot of readings if you want to be a medium. It's like exercising and lifting weights if you want to be a football player. You don't just show up to the game. You had to do a lot of practice before. Um, I did a reading, an example of dealing with no's is I had a mother and her ex-husband. The ex-husband showed up at the reading. I didn't know he was going to be there. And I think it kind of threw the mom off when I was doing the reading because I gave her a bunch of very detailed information, photographs her son was in, things that were in his bedroom, details, details, details. And she said no to every single one of them. And I'm like, okay, I know I see what I see. And an hour later, she sent me an email with the pictures of all the things I said that she said no to, because I think she was a little uncomfortable that her ex-husband was there. So she just kind of tuned out and wasn't taking any of the information. So it's important for us to stay in the moment and allow spirit to show us. What I do when I get a no from a client is I push the information with my mind back to spirit. In this case, I told the mom her little boy was with Woody and Buzz from Toy Story, or Woody and Jesse. I think it was Woody and Buzz from Toy Story. She goes, "No, he hated Disney. He never would have done that." Lo and behold, she sent me a picture of exactly what I told her at Disney. Now she would have known he was there because she would have been with him because he was a small child. But I pushed it back to spirit and it popped back in my head. I push it back to spirit, it popped back in my head. So I knew spirit was giving me accurate information. So you have to keep your cool, I guess, basically. Timing. So if you're doing a 15-minute reading, keep track of the time. If you're doing a 30-minute reading, 45 an hour, you have to be aware of the time. Some people are really good at this, some people not so much. I've had students that'll give 20 pieces of information in 5 or 6 minutes. And then I've had other students who will give 5 pieces of information in 10 minutes. And it's like, yeah, you can't pause for 45 seconds in between every piece of information. You have to have a certain flow and rhythm and trust spirit and follow the story. So, for instance, when I saw Woody and Buzz, I knew it was at Disney World or Disneyland because just not hanging out at the mall every day, right? I could see the story, I could see what happened, I could see why they took him there. I knew the whole thing, but you have to ask spirit, okay, I see this little boy with Woody and Buzz. Why was he there? What were they doing? Who were they with? How long ago was it? Were they there for 1 day or 2 weeks? And you follow the story, and that makes for a deeper and more dynamic reading with a client. When you follow, not you don't just say blue car, pink lamp, cremated, like that's boring. You have to have more details and more information. There's strong evidence and there's weak evidence. I'll give you an example. When you see a medium on TV say, "Oh, I feel a John over here who had a heart attack," and they're pointing to the crowd, right? Now, how common is the name John? Very. How common is it that an old man had a heart attack? Very.
Very.
My grandpa's name was John, and he had a heart attack. Now, I did get a reading from somebody who said, my grandpa John, who had a heart attack, but my grandpa John he came from Sicily and he lived in St. Louis and he was visiting my dad in San Francisco and he dropped dead of a heart attack on the corner of the street. And the medium said that to me. He dropped dead of a heart attack on the street in a city he didn't live in. And that's exactly what happened. That's strong evidence. Saying your grandpa John had a heart attack, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. But saying your grandpa John died of a heart attack in the city he didn't live on the street, that's exactly what happened. That's strong evidence. So there's different types of, something that starts out weak can become strong. And then there's spiritual intelligence behind the evidence. So when that medium told me that about my grandpa, there was spirit involved in giving her that information. Spirit knows everything. That fact that he died on the street corner in San Francisco when he did not live there, that is spirit. That is my grandfather telling her that information. There's no way on earth that happened in 1982 or 4. That wouldn't even be on the internet. Like, there's no way she could have ever known that. Plus, she doesn't know my maiden name. So there's no way she could have looked that up. So that information was from spirit. So there is different types of evidence. Now, you're not going to get most of the time 25 super strong pieces of evidence in a reading. You might get 3 to 5 strong pieces of evidence, 20 medium pieces of evidence, and 10 weak pieces of evidence. But it's the strong details that make the reading real. Like the on the corner in a city he didn't live in. That was impactful. Now, when you become a medium and you take mediumship, courses, mentorships, whatever, you need to deliver healing messages because giving somebody a bunch of evidence is not as impactful as giving them a message from their loved one in spirit. So messages can be as simple as, your loved one in spirit is proud of you and they know how hard you work to overcome all of these things. Or they know you're switching jobs and you're doing the right thing. And this is the new path that will open up even new opportunities for you down the road. Right? So there are millions of different kinds of messages that can come through. Sometimes the message in a reading is part of the evidence. Sometimes they overlap. It just varies from reading to reading. Every reading is different, and can have so many different things come through. Okay, so let's see what we got. I do have a mentorship program if anyone is interested in that. Again, this is, a completely free class tonight. My mentorship programs are 6 months. They're once a month for 3 hours, and then an in-between practice for 1 hour. So about every 2 to 3 weeks we would meet. And the practice sessions are free, where we do readings and things like that. If you were interested, your abilities would grow. You would see changes very rapidly. You would, if you do the practice and, the homework, of course. I'm always available to answer emails, to have one-on-one calls or meetings. You will see immediate results. You will gain practical skills. You will be part of a community, which I think is probably the best part of the mentorship program. And it's something unique and something impactful for you in your life if that's something you would choose to do. If you want to join the mentorship program, it starts June 21st. You get a $25 discount with the code I'll put it in the chat because if I publish this, I don't want everybody using it. This is the code for the discount. You just put it in when you go to pay. And it will save you $25. And it's a monthly fee every month for the 6 months. Any questions about that? If you don't want to join the mentorship, that's perfectly fine. I have a digital course, it's only $27. It's the exact same thing as my mentorship class, but it's in a booklet and you can go at your own pace. You can download the digital version off my website or order one on Amazon. That's a physical copy. I prefer you get it off my website, but if you want a physical copy, you can get it on Amazon. And that's everything. It's learning about your spirit guide. This is what it looks like. It's big print because I'm getting older and I can't see anything. How to find your spirit guide, what clairs you have, ethics. It's everything we talked about tonight in a little booklet with exercises and journal prompts. So that is the digital course. And if you have any questions, you can email me anytime or ask me now. And my website is there as well. Any questions, comments, anything like that? No?
I just want to thank you for doing this.
Oh, you are so welcome. It is my pleasure. I will send a copy out to everybody who signed up if you want to rewatch any of it, or ask me any questions later. If you want to talk to me privately, meet with me one-on-one, I can set that up for next week sometime. Brett, if you said something, you're muted. I couldn't hear you.
I asked, what do you charge for a mediumship session?
My 30 minutes are $99 and they used to be 150, but I reduced them. And my 45 minutes are 150.
Okay.
And I have mini readings as well. They're 20, I think they might be $50. I can't remember. They're on my website. I have mini readings as well.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, you
Thank-
said something about the mentorship. You can just do a drop in and just try it for you
That's
said
the
20
that's the a la carte for Spirit Exchange. That's not a
Oh, okay.
mentorship. Those are
Okay.
readings.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a different thing. But you can send me any email with any questions.
Okay.
And that's all on your website?
Yep, it's all on my website. The a la carte, I paused on my website because we were full last month. But if you're interested in that, I can open it back up. We only allow 25 people in the Spirit Exchange because we want to do as many readings as we can. And some people charge $100 and they let 1,000 people in and they give 4 readings.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. So we don't do that because that's just ripping people off essentially. And we don't believe in that. So, okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Have a great weekend. And if you have any questions, email me.
Thank you for
Will do.
this.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you, Nick. This was absolutely wonderful, and you gave so much information.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Yeah.
Lots to
Thank
think
you.
about. I do have one quick question, though. I wanted to
Of course.
confirm, because I am old and have old eyes. I'm young, but my eyes are old. So I also have trouble learning with digital information. I'm old-fashioned. I need the hand. So did I hear you correctly when you said if I were to order that from Amazon, it would be a physical copy?
Yeah, the one on Amazon's a physical copy.
And is that the same price?
It's $27, the same
I see.
price. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
But
I
I
would
get like
prefer-
$3 of it in 90 days.
I beg your pardon?
From Amazon, I get like $3 from it in 90 days, but that's fine. But I put it there because I'm a physical book person too. I want to have the physical book in my hand.
Yeah, I
And
learned better that way.
It's large print because I can't see a thing either. So I made
Yeah,
it full. Yeah,
getting old is not for wimps.
yeah, yeah. It's large print, so
You know,
And
I also like to know the website for that podcast you were talking about.
okay, let me put it in the chat. It's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. Where do you prefer to watch it?
I don't know on
Oh,
my
the one, you mean the one with Teresa Bullard?
yeah.
Oh, okay, let me get it. It's on YouTube. Let me grab it right now. It'll be in my history. Oh, it's right here. It's
Hey,
called
Nick,
Next Level. I gotta
while
wait
you're
for
doing that,
I gotta wait for the
sorry.
commercial. Go ahead.
While you're doing that, I just want to say, you know, everyone's journey is different. So one thing that I was kind of grasping from some of the comments made is that I think some people are expecting for everything to be uniform, and it's not.
Yes.
Everyone is going to learn differently. You know, Nick can lead you down and help you go down your path. That's one thing that one point that I wanted to make is that, you know, everyone's different, but Nick will help you down your path.
I appreciate that.
Because
sorry about the dog barking. My son got a puppy. I don't know if you guys
I want to see the puppy.
She's a beautiful 4-month-old German Shepherd, long hair.
Mm.
I don't know if I have a picture of her. I have a granddaughter though. She's awesome. But I
put that baby picture up there.
Here, this is today at the doctor. That's my son, my oldest, and my granddaughter. She had to get shots today. Oh, I know you guys probably can't.
Sweet baby.
She's so cute. My son is 6 foot 7, and his baby is 2 months old, and she's in the 99th percentile for height. I'm like, well, obviously she's going to be tall, and I'm 5'5", so my family's like huge, and I'm this little short lady. Oh, I see your puppy.
Yeah, this is Zanny. She's short for Xanax.
I was going to ask.
Because I thought I needed a dog that would calm me down, but she's so hot wired that she needs it.
Oh,
but she's a sweetie.
I put the link for that podcast that I was
got it.
about.
Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. And thank you, everyone. And I hope you have a great weekend. Email me with any questions.
Thank you so much.
And if you want to meet sometime next week, I can set up a free 15-20-minute call next week. Okay. All right. Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.